Hi everyone, Janie here, and today we are going to step outside of the world of paper crafting and we're going to take a little tiny step into the world of sewing. So don't go running off just because it's not paper crafting, because you know me and you know I do a variety of videos. And today's video isn't just about sewing, it's about upcycling, and it is for absolute beginners because that's what I am. And before we get started on this project, I just want to take a minute to explain to you what's going on. So over a year ago, my wonderful husband bought me a sewing machine, an amazing sewing machine that has so many things. I don't know if I'll ever learn how to use them all, but he knew I wanted to use it for some craft projects and maybe to learn how to sew. And so it's been sitting there this whole time though, because I never learned how to thread it. I never learned how to wind a bobbin. I looked at the manual and it just was overwhelming and I wasn't motivated until recently when I saw a video that Lorrie Nunemaker did. And I'm going to put a link below to her YouTube channel as well as her website and Instagram, social medias and everything, because I think you're going to love her. And she's not just about sewing, because I actually started following her and subscribing to her because she does Cricut videos. And that is what was interesting to me, and I thought she did an amazing job. But one day I went to watch her videos, and she had a video on Urban Scrunchies. And I wear scrunchies. I've been wearing them since the 80s and never stopped, and now they're back in style. And I thought, well, I have to watch this video. So I did, and to my surprise, it was easy to follow. She made it so easy that I'm like going, I can do this. I can do this. And it was something that I could use, something that I wanted, something that I could make and give as gifts to my daughters and granddaughters. So I was really excited about this. And so thanks to Lorrie, who I absolutely love, thanks to her, I am now using my sewing machine. I know how to thread it. I know how to wind bobbins. I have wound probably a dozen bobbins in different colors just to have them ready to do this. And it was her video and her motivation that got me to do this, and I cannot thank her enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Lorrie. And again, all of her information is below in the description box. You have got to visit her channel. In fact, when you see what I'm doing, you're going to want to visit her channel. So let's head over and get started. So to start off, I am just going to show you what a basic scrunchie looks like. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And I made a Halloween one because I happen to have some pumpkin material that I have no idea where it came from. But you can wear the scrunchie by itself, or you can tie on, and I'm going to do that right here, right now. You can tie on the, I don't know what exactly you call this, but I'm going to call it a tie or a bow, and wear it that way. So let me get that on here really quick for you. There you go. It's that easy, and they're just so cute. I mean, I just love them. Here's another one where I've done the mini Urban Scrunchie, and it's actually just the mini tie that I've put on here instead of the long one. But the cool thing is you can make it both ways, and it can be interchangeable. You know, if you're in the mood for the little one, wear the little one. If you're in the mood for the longer one, then tie the longer one on there. Or I've tied one of the little ones just on a little hair thingy, a little, you know, ponytail holder, and that works as well. And this is the first one I ever made, and it is upcycled from one of my husband's old t-shirts where the front was a disaster, the back was still good, and I love upcycling, so this was great. I love this. In fact, I love the floppiness of it because, you know, the t-shirt material is different, and I really like that. And here's another one that I absolutely love. But keeping with the upcycling, this is made from an upcycled pillowcase. This is actually from a flannel pillowcase. And again, I've made the long tie to put on it or the short tie. And let me tell you, An upcycled pillowcase is going to get you over 4 feet of material that you can make so many of these. T-shirts are great for this. And now that I've showed you all of these and you can see all the options, why don't we just get started? So keeping with the upcycled theme, because I am really into upcycling, I picked up this t-shirt at a yard sale. It's a child-sized t-shirt, and on the sides, I'll show you this, there are no seams, okay? And that's really important because we're going to be cutting these on a fold. And let me show you this. Hold on a second here. You can get a free download from Lorrie Nunemaker to get the pattern for this. Or if you plan on making more than just a couple of them, I suggest getting either her acrylic templates or her wooden ones. She sells both of these. These are free, but she sells these, and I'm telling you, this is worth it if you plan on making more than just 1 or 2, because if you're going to make just 1 or 2, I tend to cut into it when I'm trying to cut around it. And this is cardstock, but I actually glued it onto like a piece of, what was this, probably a pizza box, a pie box or something like that, to make it more sturdy. And you can do that, but seriously, when you watch this and you get hooked on this, you're gonna want these. So there'll be a link below where you can get these, but there's also a link to her video where she will have the link to get the free PDF file. So what you do is you take it and you put the template right on the fold, because it's actually going to be twice this size, so you need it on the fold. And the same thing with this. So let me show you here really quick, is that she suggests that you use a rectangle that is 3.5 inches by 18 inches. And since it's going to be on the fold, it only needs to be, let me find one here. There we go. It only needs to be 3.5 by 9 inches because you're putting it on the fold, and so it will become 18 inches once you cut it. But I like mine a little bit bigger, and you can make them any size you want, but I'm going to do mine at 4 inches. And actually, my husband's going to get this fixed up for me so I can use it for a template so that I don't have to keep using this piece of cardboard. But I'm going to put the piece of cardboard on here, and as you can see, we have plenty of room on this side, and I'm going to be able to get several of these small ones out on this side. So one yard sale, t-shirt is going to go a long way. And to do this, I'm just using a rotary cutter, and we're just going to cut right around this. This template makes it so easy. The only thing that would make it easier is if I had the little rotating cutting board that Lorrie Nunemaker has. I found that rather fascinating because it's really hard to cut like this. I'm making an absolute mess because I can't just, turn my board around. So I have to get in an awkward position because I also can't just keep walking around the camera. I would be knocking it over. So let's see here. See if I can get this. This is just an awkward position, but just be patient with me here. Okay, there we go. And so we have this part. Now I have a couple of extra little pieces there because my little cutter didn't cut it good, but that'll be okay. I will get those cut off. Probably do it with scissors here in a minute. Nope, I got it. Okay, so this is what it looks like before we start sewing it. Okay, and I'm going to set this piece aside while I cut out the other. So let me set this down here. And no matter what you're using, whether it's a t-shirt or
a piece of fabric. See, there I go, cutting the cardboard. That's why I've got to get my wooden one here soon. But anyways, whether you are cutting a t-shirt like this, or if you have a piece of fabric, you want it folded because you are actually cutting on the fold. So you always put the one end up against the fold, and that way, you know, like this will come out 18 inches instead of 9 inches, and the bow part will come out just right. Okay, let's see if I can do this. This is totally awkward doing this on camera, but I will do it the best I can. Okay, so there we go. And I'm just showing you how to do the big one. I am not going to show you how to do the little one, but you do it the same way. You put it on the fold and you cut it out. And now we're going to move on to what to do with these pieces. Okay, so we're going to start with the tie, and that's what I'm going to call this. This is the part that ties on. You are going to be folding it in half, and in this case, the part that's on the inside is going to be the right side of the fabric, and it's hard to see with that. So I'm going to grab a piece of just scrap here. So when you do this, you want this part to be on the inside and this to be what is facing up. So in this particular case, it's a t-shirt, it doesn't much matter, but you're going to fold it in half with the good side of the fabric facing the inside, and you are going to get it all lined up just like this. An iron would help, but in the room where I'm at right now, I don't have that ability. So you're going to line it up, and then you're going to grab a straight pin or a clip or whatever you want to use. And I can't get the camera close enough here because I don't have a zoom on mine, but there is a little point in the center, and you will be able to see that when you're using this. And also, if the fold line still shows, you will be able to see that. So come over about 1 inch and put in your straight pin, and we're going to do the same thing about 1 inch over on this side as well, even 1.5 inches, whatever you are comfortable with. As long as you leave a space here in the center that is, you know, somewhere between 2 or 3 inches wide, because you're not going to sew right there. And so we're going to go over to the sewing machine, or I'm going to go over to the sewing machine right now, because again, I can't really get my camera over there, and being brand new at this, I am so self-conscious. I wouldn't want you to watch me sew, to be honest with you. But there will be a link below to Lorrie Nunemaker's video as well, so if you need to see a little bit more. But I'm going to go ahead and lift this up now toward the camera, and you're going to start sewing from right up here on this edge, and be sure to back stitch, and then you're going to sew all the way around to the safety pin. Oh, straight pin, not a safety pin. Well, you could use a safety pin, but again, and back stitch. And so you've just sewed that, you've left this opening. You're going to do the same thing on this side. You're going to start at the end, and you're going to sew all along. Let me see if I can get this in the camera good. You're going to sew all along the edge here, the open edge. You're going to sew along that until you get to the straight pin. And on both ends, be sure to back stitch, okay? And then once you've done that, everything should be sewed up except for this little center part. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do next after I go sew that. But before I go, I'm going to show you the next thing. So again, with the fabric part that's on the inside, well, we're going to turn it over. So the part of the fabric that is going to be hidden, that's going to be on the inside once it's sewn and done, with that facing up, you're going to fold over one edge just a tiny bit. I mean, like, that's probably 1/2 inch, I guess. And you're going to sew that, back stitching at both ends. And then in Lorrie's video, I didn't think she did that at both ends, but I have a reason for doing it at both ends because I'm doing something a little different. But do the same thing at the other end. So you are going to stitch that all the way across, back stitching at both ends. And then, you know what? I think I'm going to do that part and then I'll come back and show you. So I'm going to go sew this and I'm going to get this started and I will be right back. Okay, so I sewed the ends. They are not the greatest, but I wanted you to see what I'm talking about. And I did that on both ends. And again, be sure to back stitch on each end. I just used my foot pedal. I don't know what it's called. I guess that's what it's called. As a guide, the little foot on the sewing machine, and just kind of slid this through with using the edge of the foot as a guide. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to fold it in half. And when we fold it in half, this part's going to be showing. Okay, we want this part showing when we fold this in half. And now you can use pins or just guide it as you go along. To be honest with you, it is so easy. I just guide it as I go along. And we're just going to stitch from one end all the way to the other end. And again, back stitching at each end, leaving these ends open. Okay, so that'll be open, but we're going to sew up the other edge. Okay, now, before I go do that, I'll show you what I already sewed. And I do a horrible, horrible job of sewing. So, let me see here. So you can see stitching goes from there all the way until we have an opening right here. And that opening is what we're going to use to turn this right side out. But before we do, already on this end, let me go to the other side, I kind of trimmed off a little bit of the tip, not where your thread is, but just around the tip a little bit so it's not so bulky. And I also trimmed along the edge to trim off some of the excess. I got a little bit close right here, but I think it's going to hold. And so on this end, I'm going to do the same thing. Let me grab my scissors. And so you can see this. Okay, there we go. You can see this excess right here on the end. So skipping the thread, miss that altogether, but just kind of curve that around a little bit to get, part of that off. And then again, you can trim off part of this that sticks out off the seam, or if you want, you can give it little tiny clips at the curves, but do not cut across the stitching. And so I'm going to finish trimming up this edge a little bit and get that other piece sewn, and we'll be back to put it together. Hi everyone, welcome back to my craft room. I couldn't handle being in that other room any longer that had the sewing table and the sewing machine because it was so difficult to work around things. So we are back into my craft room right now, and just show you that this is the piece that I've sewn along that edge. So we have openings at the edges, which is really nice. Openings at both ends, you're going to need those. And of course, this is the other piece that I've already sewn, and it has its opening right here in the middle. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn these things right side out. So let's get started. I'm just going to reach in here and just start working it out. And this is actually really easy to do, and if anyone out there has arthritis, you can still do this. It is easier to do with t-shirt material if you have arthritis than it is to do with regular material. But let me grab this using my handy dandy craft tool here, my bone folder, and we're going to go in there and just kind of poke that end out gently, kind of smooth everything out here along the side. And you can see how easily that just turned inside out, or right side out. It's not hard at all. So we're just going to do the same thing on this end and just work it out. Okay, take my bone folder. You could use, you know, a pin. You can use a chopstick. I actually was using that in the very beginning because we actually had a chopstick laying around. Okay, so there we go. This is what it looks like. We still have an opening there, and in a minute I'm going to show you how we are going to close that opening. But as you can see, it goes together pretty naturally, so that's going to be easy to do. I'm going to move that over for a second, and this is probably the most difficult thing to turn right side out. Not that it's difficult, it just takes longer. So be patient here. I might even speed this up for you, but I am pretty sure that somebody else has a better way to do this. I just keep, you know, pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, and eventually it all is right side out. Voila! There it is. Right side out. That is right side out. And now I'm going to go grab my little craft iron because I'm not going to bring a big old iron into this space, and I wish I had, you know, a Cricut Easy Press. That would make life even easier. Ah, that's why they call it the Easy Press. But that's on a wish list, I think. So I'll be right back. I've got my little craft iron heated up. Doesn't have a temperature setting on it, but I am going to just kind of iron along the edge that has the seam, just to get everything smoothed out and evened out. And just try to make sure that this stays even. Nope, I don't have an ironing board in here. Just this towel on my craft table. Okay, so I've got that ironed out. And what I'm going to be using is Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. So this is a, see if I can get it to focus there. This is a no-sew product. It is permanent and it is machine washable. And it is by ThermoWeb. And those of you who watch my videos know I love ThermoWeb products. And the funny story is, I don't remember ever buying this. I have bought stuff because, like I said, I wasn't sewing, and so I've used different things for, you know, craft projects that require fabric. But I probably have had this for a very long time, so I don't even know if their packaging still comes the same. But it comes in these sheets, and if I could get it to show up, one side is kind of bumpy, and the other side has like a paper backing on it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut me off a piece to use in there, and I don't know how long of a piece I need, so I may cut it too long or not long enough. But either way, I can adjust that. Oh, that was just sloppy. Okay, let me try one more time. I'm not into sloppy today. That's what I get for rushing. I was just like this. Okay, so I'm going to slide this in and bumpy side down, as I said, and keep it as close to the edge of the fabric as you can. Okay, it keeps moving as I go, so I think I'm going to iron as I go. And literally, it just takes a couple seconds, and it will stick. And you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be near as awkward if I turned this around. I don't know why I'm trying to work from the other direction. But let me get that in there. Okay, and that's all it literally takes is like 2 seconds. So you're like 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to peel off that backing. And I'll show you that it leaves an adhesive behind. Okay, and I am just going to roll I think I work from this direction better. I don't know why. Here we go. This is going to take about 10 seconds or 8 seconds. I'm kind of counting in my head. But I also have to move this because it doesn't cover up that area as much as a big iron would. Okay, that's more than enough. Okay, and now it is sealed. So you didn't have to sew it. Now, anyways, you could go back and sew it if you're really good, and I'm not. So I actually prefer this method than sewing it. But if you are really good, you can go back and you can just sew it as simply as doing what I just did in the way of folding it and then just kind of running it through your sewing machine. But now we have that, and I'm going to move the iron out of the way. There's directions on how to use the heat and bond on the back of the package, and I'll put a link below to ThermoWeb where you can find this stuff because I absolutely love it. And thank you all for being patient with me. I've made hundreds of videos. This is my very first sewing video, so I am nervous. I'm just kind of like a little bit shaky here and a little bit nervous. So the next thing we need to do is we need to put the stretchy cord inside of the scrunchie part. And so I wanted to show you that I have black and white. I'm going to use black in this because this is a darker color. And I have 2mm, which I just got and have not used yet, but it is really stretchy and really easy to stretch. And like I said, that is 2mm. And then I also have it in 3mm. And 3mm is a little bit thicker, and it is still stretchy, but I think that it is a little bit harder to stretch. There's a little bit more tug to it, but this is what we're going to be using. And let me grab my ruler. Okay, so Lorrie says to use 8.5 inches of elastic, and I did use 8.5 inches on my first one, and I liked it, but I've discovered I'm happier with 9 inches, and probably because it leaves me more to tie with. And those are the wrong scissors for that. Okay, so I'm going to use 9 inches, and there it is. I thought I lost my paper clip. So I use a paper clip. You can use a safety pin or whatever you want, but I tie one end of my elastic around a paper clip. Sometimes easier said than done. Okay, and I just slide it in to the one end and keep working it all the way through the scrunchie. Every once in a while I pull some of it down so I can have more room. There we go, almost there. Don't lose the other end when you do this, otherwise you'll be starting all over again. Okay, what are you hooked on? Where are you? There we go. Okay, so now we're just going to untie this end. But again, hang on to it. You don't want to lose it. Okay, so I got it through, and I'm going to hold both ends carefully. Well, I just kind of go around the scrunchie and just kind of make sure that, I mean, you can always make sure it's not a mess afterwards, but I like to make sure it's not a mess. And then I'm going to tie these ends. And to my surprise, none of them have ever come untied. If you're really worried about it, you can use Fabri-Tac. Just kind of put Fabri-Tac right there, the little loop before you tighten it. But I have not had any of these come undone yet. And one of the reasons why earlier I said that I sewed up both of these ends of the tube, I'm going to show you why right now and explain why. So I've got the elastic done, and it is done. And you could actually trim off the excess ends if you want, not a lot, but you know, if you end up with a lot. Probably one of the reasons why I do 9 inches instead of 8.5, just because I usually use too much of it to tie. Okay, so now I'm just going to stick this inside, and this is why I do both ends, okay? I'm tucking one end inside the other, and I'm not going to sew it. And the reason is, if it ever comes untied or breaks, it's going to be easy to get inside there and fix it. Or if I ever say, you know what, I want it to be a little bit longer than it is, you know, I want it to go around a lot more hair than it does, then I can get in there again and undo it and put in something longer. So I like the ability for it to come apart, and instead of being sewed closed or glued closed or anything. So there's the scrunchie. And the other cool thing is where this opening is, which it's not an opening once it's tucked in there, okay? So it's basically closed. Okay, that is the perfect place to tie the tie. So you just put it on here, get it fairly even before you do the tying. And hold on a second here. Oh yeah, I do this so much better when I'm just not in front of the camera, but there we go. We have a cute little urban scrunchie. Now, wasn't that like the easiest thing in the whole world to do? I know it took a while, you know, trying to talk to you and show you, but I can make these really quick if I'm not talking, even though I am not the greatest sewer in the world, or seamstress, or whatever you want to call it. But Lorrie makes it really easy with her, oops, I'm dropping things, with the templates. I really like this template. And where's the other one? So you can get the printable ones, the PDF files from her, but once you start making these, you're going to want acrylic or wood. And again, you can experiment with these. For the size of the scrunchie, you can make them smaller, you can make them bigger, you can even make these longer, not just wider, but longer. And I think the more that you experiment and find out what works for you, you will know what sizes that you prefer, because that's what I've been doing. I've kind of been playing around with size. But I'm going to have links below to Lorrie's channel and her website and everything, so you will be able to find everything you need. And honestly, you will see a much better video than I just did. But I really wanted to share this with you guys. I'm going to be making so many of these for Christmas presents for my daughters and granddaughters and nieces, and there are so many possibilities. Just remember that you can make them with the little small ties or the bigger ties. You can make scrunchies by themselves, or you can tie these onto little, you know, ponytail holders. And upcycling is a great way to do this. Upcycling old t-shirts, old pillowcases, sheets, clothes, anything that is fabric, you can upcycle it instead of just throwing it in the trash. So make something beautiful with something old. Trash to treasure. But whatever you make them out of, you are going to love these.
Thank you all for watching. Even though I know this isn't what you expected to see on my channel today, I really appreciate the fact that you hung in there and watched it, and I'm hoping that this has inspired you to maybe do some sewing. If you're a beginner and you needed a place to start, this is it. If you are an advanced sewer, I'm sure you're going to love this too. So go watch Lorrie Nunemaker's videos, because this isn't the only thing that she shows how to make that is easy, and I'm looking forward to maybe making some other things as I get more confident. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Lorrie, and happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.